welcome to All Steelers Talk, your home for everything Pittsburgh Steelers, presented by allsteelers.com. What is up, Steelers Nation? Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. I'm Noah Strackbine, joined every Tuesday and Thursday by my main man, Donnie Droon. Find us on youtube.com/allsteelerstalk or anywhere you get your podcasts. And today, we're talking about Baker Mayfield moving, Mason Rudolph being the backup, and Kenny Pickett's redshirt season. Question mark. Lots of quarterback in the works. Donnie, it's a beautiful day here in the Berg. I shaved a mustache, which is probably the biggest news of the day. How you feeling, my friend?
I feel great. Speaking of the mustache, I watched Top Gun, the original one, for the first time a few days ago. Solid movie. I don't know why I hold out and watching phenomenal films. So,
I've
Top
heard
Gun
it's a
was
good
great.
movie. I've never seen it.
Top Gun was great. You look great, bro. It's a phenomenal Thursday to talk some Steelers football.
Feeling that one. I've never seen Top Gun. I have to go see Top Gun. I want to go see the new one. Didn't realize Tom Cruise was still in it, but I'm all about that life. All right, let's talk some Steelers football. Well, we're going to start off with the Cleveland Browns, I guess. Baker Mayfield on his way to the Carolina Panthers in exchange for a 5th-round pick, which is conditional. Will go to a 4th-round pick if he plays 70% of his snaps, I believe, next season. A move I think a lot of people saw coming. Didn't see it happening when it did happen, obviously. Caught some people by surprise. We talked about it before. Let me get your thoughts on it again. What did you think about the move?
For the Browns, it kind of felt like a move that they needed to make. They were really trying to hold out for a super high pick, and I think whenever you looked around the league, teams knew that eventually they would have to part with them one way or another, and to try to get a high pick for a guy is not going to go back to the team. It's just you put yourself in a predicament to where you're kind of negotiating against yourself after a certain point. After such a long time too, with training camp coming up, and you also kind of want to almost do right by Baker too. Is like, where does that sound given everything that they had done to/with him in the offseason? But I don't know. I don't think it's a bad trade for the Panthers at all, given the upside of Baker Mayfield that has kind of been seen in flashes throughout his time in Cleveland. I mean, as much as we rag on the Browns, I mean, Baker did very much so help turn that franchise around, along with a very competent front office, a very offensive, young, forward-thinking head coach, and basically a very, very well-rounded roster all around that. But for Baker to kind of not succeed with the Browns at the levels everybody had hoped he would, on top of him kind of carrying that swagger, that arrogance to him, definitely makes him an easy target. I do wonder if there will be some Steeler fans that find themselves rooting for Baker Mayfield now that he is out of Cleveland.
So, I'll address you. First, I have to address Charles in the comments. You have never seen Top Gun? Look it, man, I apologize, but I will make this promise to you right now because you're like the 5th person to say this to me. Yeah. So I appreciate the push. I will go watch Top Gun, and I will have a report to you by next Tuesday. Mark my words. I have a very busy weekend, so maybe Thursday, but we're going to aim for Tuesday. Appreciate you, Charles. All right, Baker Mayfield. For one, your question on whether or not Steelers fans will root for him, I don't see why not. I don't think Baker Mayfield ever had a real negative rapport with the Steelers fans. I think that everybody in Cleveland does, but I don't know if it's you know what I mean? There's been some really nasty Browns players. Really nasty. For sure. Would you say Baker's one of them? Would you say Baker's one of those guys nasty. That just that's what I mean. There's never been I've felt the rivalry, but Ed, I'm trying to think of a name. Ray Lewis, Ed Reed. If those guys went to another team, you're not rooting for them if you're a Steelers fan, no matter what. There's a respect there, but you're not rooting for them. Who was the dude, the Cincinnati linebacker a couple of years ago? He was another one. But then there was guys.
Vontaze Burfict.
That guy, Vontaze Burfict, dirtiest player of all time. But then there was guys like Chad Ochocinco. Chad Ochocinco went to New England. I was rooting for him to win a ring. I was like, man, this would be cool. You weren't about that life?
Dude, not with the Patriots. Hell no, man.
No, not with the Patriots. I didn't feel good about it, but like when they were in the playoffs, when the situation was breaking itself down, there's always those guys that you're like, okay, I respect him enough to feel good about it. I'm not saying that Mayfield has earned anybody's respect. I just don't think he's burnt the bridges. That's what I'm trying to say.
For sure. No, 1,000%. I like to use Joey Porter as kind of like a measuring stick to where Browns players should be. If Joey Porter would have punched you pregame, then you're probably not very well respected or like established. Do you remember whenever he did that? Like way back in the day, like he got in trouble for like trying to fight the entire Browns sideline.
The entire Browns sideline. Yes, yeah. I do remember that. I think that's a good. It's a good benchmark. It's a good benchmark. I don't think Baker's a dude that I'm gonna feel terribly about if he has success in other places. Am I rooting for him to have success? No. That being said, have you bet on the Carolina Panthers to beat the Cleveland Browns in week 1 yet?
Ooh, I don't know, but did you see the Browns are paying him over $500,000 that week to try to beat the Cleveland Browns as part of like their deal with the Panthers?
That is beautiful. Yeah. That is beautiful. Yeah. I bet on them. I put $75 down immediately. That's as much money as I had in my FanDuel account, and I tossed it all on there in 2 seconds. I think it was plus 100 odds. There's no. Do you have any hope? Any hope with the thought that Deshaun Watson's not in Cleveland? Do you have any hope for the Cleveland Browns this season?
Dude, that's still a really good roster. It's still a really
good roster without a quarterback.
But it's Jacoby Brissett,
exactly.
who had miracles worked for him in Indianapolis. And like we talked about on the show, I think a week or two ago, dude,
I know where you're going.
Minka loves whenever Jacoby Brissett throws just anywhere in a relative zip code towards him.
Yeah, exactly. It's like there's no. You could have Doug Hodges took a team to 8-8, 8-8, Donnie, 8-8. You want to know why you didn't get any better? Because you can't be any better without a quarterback. You could be better with an okay quarterback, not with a third string quarterback. That's not how that works. What would you predict the record would be if you're betting on the?
Dude, don't do this to me. The Browns record with Jacoby?
The Browns record with Jacoby.
Dude. I would say somewhere around 500 if we saw the Steelers rise up with mediocre quarterback play. I think the Browns have like a better foundation than Pittsburgh did in 2019. So even with Jacoby Brissett, I still think they'll be competitive. Not like Super Bowl contenders like they should be with Deshaun Watson, but still like I don't think they're like a perennial playoff team. I would say right around 500. If they finished like 9-8 somewhere around there, or like 8-9, I wouldn't be surprised.
No way. What they finished last season? What was their record last season? 9-8. I believe it was 9-8 or something along those lines. With Baker Mayfield, I get it was
with Baker Mayfield and chicken noodle soup on his like shoulder.
Okay, but now they got chicken noodle soup to throw to outside of Amari Cooper, who at times is chicken noodle soup.
Well, they did have somebody to throw to, but then
Baker wasn't good. But it doesn't matter.
His dad made cut-ups on YouTube.
If the argument is Baker's better than Jacoby Brissett at the end of the day, no matter what way you're trying to
1,000%.
But that's what I'm saying. Now you don't have Baker and you have nobody to throw the football to. I mean, I could blitz you. I could run blitz you 45 times a game. I don't even have to think about that. There's Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Now you're just hoping that the other team doesn't score a touchdown and you win games. I'm going to say 6 games max. 6 games max the Browns win.
But see, like that also wouldn't surprise me at all. Like I know we talked about the Steelers kind of being this great big question mark whenever it comes to the 2022 season and what we should or shouldn't expect. I think the Browns are kind of in the same position right now because like if they were thought to be Super Bowl contenders before they got Deshaun Watson, sure, like Deshaun's probably not going to play this year. I don't think Jacoby Brissett can take them super far. they still have a really good football team, man, and really good football teams still find ways to win. I'm not saying they're going to be like this number one seed in the AFC. I'm not saying they're going to go on this crazy playoff run. I'm just saying like right around 500 is probably reasonable.
It is probably reasonable. It is probably reasonable.
But like the meme I sent you earlier this morning.
But I'm telling you, the Browns be the Browns, my friend.
Browns be the Browns.
The Browns be the Browns. It's never going to change. All right, before we move on, they got a 5th-round pick, could go into a 4th-round pick. If Baker plays 70% of the snaps, you got to expect that to happen. Sam Darnold's terrible.
Dude, did you see the video of the Panthers talking about Matt Corral in the draft and them being super excited about it?
Oh,
So,
no,
dude, somebody leaked the war room footage of Matt Rule like hyping up like Matt Corral and talking about like how great of an NFL quarterback he can be, and then they go and they trade for Baker Mayfield like a couple months down the road.
That's terrible. Well, yeah, but I mean, Matt Corral's not NFL ready now. Matt Corral at one point was considered like the number 1 pick in the draft.
Dude, the best part about that video was Matt Rule telling the Patriots to basically like F off after like their first offer, because they were waiting to like jump up in the draft to go and like make a move for Corral. And then Matt Rule's like in the war room with the Panthers, and he's like, listen, like what we're doing right now is elite. Like Matt Rule has done anything close to anything being elite at the NFL since he first took over Carolina.
Yeah, he was handed Christian McCaffrey and has done nothing since. So he signed Cam Newton for 4 games last season.
The most elite thing I've ever seen Matt Rule do was in Mobile when he was hammered at 2:00 in the morning eating street tacos.
I wasn't there for that, but yeah.
I also got a lot of respect for him for doing that too, by the way. So
you're hammered eating street tacos at 2 a.m. Shout out you. You're living a good life.
Dude.
Living a good life. Are you slamming a ghost right now?
Yeah.
Wow.
Red Sour Patch Kid. The Swedish Fish is also really good too.
I know. Those things will kill you.
I hope so. Get me out of here. I'm joking.
All right, let's talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers. I got deep for a second there. Don't worry. Donnie's fine. I'll talk to him after the show. All right. When it comes to the Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback competition, me and you are under the assumption that it is Mitchell Trubisky and Kenny Pickett with like a very small chance for Mason Rudolph. Not everybody believes that it's going to turn out that way, or at least that the ending turns out the way we expect the ending to turn into. Mark Kabolia of The Athletic, who we have now talked about for 2 episodes in a row, shout out Kaboom, believes that the Steelers will focus on Mason Rudolph being the backup this season, not Kenny Pickett, alluding to a Kenny Pickett redshirt season. Just to read you right from his mailbag here, check that out on The Athletic. They can save $3 million and potentially get a draft choice if they trade him. But is it worth more than the peace of mind that 2019, when they were starting Duck Hodges and trying to sign Landry Jones off an XFL team he had yet to play for, doesn't happen again? Now it would be worth it if you aren't redshirting Pickett and you can get a 5th-round pick. I can see Rudolph being the number 2 on game day and Pickett being more of a long-term guy if Trubisky gets hurt. So let me ask you this. I don't really care who anybody believes could be the backup. Is it a good idea for the Steelers to let Mason Rudolph be the backup quarterback this season?
I think there's 2 schools of thought. I think you look at Mason's experience with the team and you see a rookie quarterback who you certainly want to try to develop into a potential franchise guy and mold him and stuff. And I know there's also kind of different ways of thinking on how you should do that whenever it comes to kind of preparing Kenny Pickett for the future. Mason Rudolph as a backup has always been the Steelers' preferred plan. Not specifically this year, just in general, since he got there and they kind of realized that maybe all the pieces to the puzzle weren't exactly popping with that. It's so easy to like Mason Rudolph as a backup quarterback because he's only a backup quarterback until you need him not to be. It's very easy to be confident when your chips are not in the middle of the table with Mason Rudolph playing quarterback for you. So I understand the appeal for him. I think at this point in time, and we'll get into this in a little bit, it's Mitch's job to lose, right? Like there's no serious threat of Mason Rudolph starting this year. We seem to think Kenny Pickett probably has a shot at that, but we'll talk about that here in a moment. Mason Rudolph is a backup. I don't hate it. I really don't.
Oh.
But on the other side of the coin, for the second argument, you drafted Kenny Pickett in the first round, my man. Mike Tomlin giggled like a schoolgirl to the phone to call Kenny Pickett to welcome him to the Pittsburgh Steelers. More than anything, the one hammering point people love to bring up with Kenny Pickett was that he was the most pro-ready quarterback right now. If you needed to play a football game tomorrow, Kenny Pickett is the first quarterback off of the board.
Yep.
If that's the case, what's the problem with him at worst being a number 2 quarterback?
I don't see one. So Kenny Pickett right now is taking third string reps. Okay. Mm-hmm. And we talked about this on Tuesday. Kenny Pickett is a third string quarterback because he hasn't proven to be anything more than a third string quarterback. And maybe he doesn't prove to be a starting quarterback this season. Okay. What are you doing if Mitchell Trubisky goes down? Which is Kaboli's argument here. If Trubisky goes down, you want Mason Rudolph out there. Do you remember 2019 what the biggest excuse was of why the Pittsburgh Steelers couldn't get a flow going on offense with Mason Rudolph? It's because it was Ben Roethlisberger's offense, and the game plan was built for Ben Roethlisberger. And you don't adjust an entire offense in the middle of the season. Do I believe that that's true? No, I believe that you adjust any chance you get. But the Steelers' offensive coordinators aren't really the greatest. If Mitchell Trubisky goes down, you're telling me that same excuse won't be there for Mason Rudolph? Because if I'm looking at the Steelers quarterback room and I'm saying, okay, Mitchell just got hurt. We need a quarterback emergency right now, moving on for the rest of the season. Mason's got the veteran experience. Kenny's a risk. Is changing an entire offense a bigger upside or a bigger risk to take than putting a first-round quarterback that you expect to be the future franchise quarterback of your team in and not having to change anything? Because Kenny Pickett and Mitchell Trubisky are essentially the same guy. They have essentially the same skill set. So you don't have to change a single thing if Kenny Pickett goes in there over Mason Rudolph. I get the veteran stuff. Like, I agree with you on all that. And every point you made is 100% correct. On Kaboli's end, it doesn't make any sense to me to worry about 2019 and then put yourself in 2019 once again with a different spin on it. That's how I'd look at that.
Not for sure. And to point out Dustin's comment in the chat right now, I do think all of this will be kind of sorted out in due time, preseason and training camp and all the opportunities that they will get. I fully expect Kenny Pickett to be the second best quarterback on the roster. I don't think that's kind of the question right now. I think it just all boils down to what the Steelers want to do. Like, if they are very intent on letting Kenny Pickett sit for a year and develop and like truly get his feet settled before he's thrown to the wolves, I can appreciate that 1,000%. And from that aspect, it does make sense, sure, to have him as a third string quarterback. I also get the veteran thing, like we've already kind of touched on with Mason. Like, if you need someone to go on there and someone who has handled an NFL offense before, they've seen a lot of stuff. I don't think Kenny Pickett is very accustomed to looking at a lot of the foreign stuff NFL defensive coordinators, are able to bring to the table. And in due time, he'll begin to kind of learn and be able to see through all of that stuff. The argument with Mason and for him being the number 2 guy is that at least he has seen that stuff, like talent aside. Like, he has the experience. He's been in the mud before. You know for sure that he at least knows how to handle X, Y, and Z scenario, whereas Kenny Pickett's kind of like a question mark. That's really the
I
only
get that.
reasoning I can see why Kenny Pickett wouldn't be the number 2 guy. And look, I get it. I fully get it if that's Pittsburgh's plan. But if he's the most pro-rated quarterback coming out of the draft and you
Thank
really,
you.
really liked
Thank
him,
you. Thank you. Is he the most pro ready? All you heard the whole draft process is how pro ready Kenny Pickett is. How pro ready Kenny Pickett is. Kenny Pickett, man, he's pro ready. All of a sudden, he's not more pro ready than Mason Rudolph. Mason Rudolph's up there in year 5, has not earned a starting job. And I understand that it's behind Ben Roethlisberger. But if he earned the starting job, the Steelers wouldn't have signed Mitchell Trubisky. They would have drafted Kenny Pickett, I believe that, but they wouldn't have signed Mitchell Trubisky. They did so because Mason Rudolph is not the future of the Pittsburgh Steelers. It doesn't make sense to me. And this is a great comment here. What's the fascination with Rudolph? He doesn't have a future long-term with this team anyways. It's exactly true. The Steelers have no intentions of making Mason Rudolph the future of this team. They have never showed that they have intentions of making Mason Rudolph the future of this team. So at some point, we got to just stop talking about it. And the Pittsburgh Steelers have to make it clear, sorry, Mason, you're not the future of this team. It just is what it is. It just is what it is. Do you think, and like we both know, we've been at practices, at NFL practices, we understand the development of quarterbacks, but not only the development of quarterbacks, but how a quarterback rotation operates during the season. The backups, if you have a veteran, at least like Ben, you would have had a situation where he takes a day off, Mason would have got the starting reps. Yeah. The third stringer and the backup, the guy who's taking most of the practice reps, throwing awful passes. They're not throwing real passes. The offensive coordinator saying, hey, man, go throw it on an interception. Go throw it over there, see if guys react. Do you think that is worth Pickett taking a redshirt year instead of actually having an opportunity to be the number 2, sit next to Matt Canada and Mike Sullivan on the sideline with a headset and talk to these guys?
See, I don't put a lot of stock into him if he's not going to play, whether he's like number 2 or number 3. Because like regardless wherever he sits in the pecking order, the hope is for him, if you do want him to sit a year, that he's not going to play, that Mitch Trubisky is going to start all 17 games, hopefully more, wink. And he's able to kind of learn from there. He's able to take things in from the sideline, and like you said, able to digest everything from Coach Canada, Coach Tomlin, everything else kind of involved in the offense. So if he's sitting, I don't truly care whether he's number 2 or number 3. But if you're going to commit long term to a guy like Kenny Pickett, I get giving him the redshirt year. I 100% get it. And especially with him being a first-round pick and you looking for your next franchise quarterback after Big Ben just retired, like that's a lot of pressure to go and kind of pick up the pieces right there. So I get it. But, I mean, the Steelers have continually built their roster to put themselves in the best position to win football games. If you didn't think Kenny Pickett couldn't win you football games this year, why did you take him at number 20?
Exactly. Which is a great lead in here to our next question. So if you haven't checked out our YouTube page, check out youtube.com/allsteelerstalk. I answered a couple of questions from people from Twitter earlier today. One of them I missed, and I thought it was a great question, so I wanted to bring it back out. Shout out to Shappy. What a name. What a Twitter name. Do you think Pickett has a legitimate chance to win the starting job? It's a good question. One we've talked about many times, but it's becoming more and more clear, I feel. Maybe not more and more clear, but more and more, the more we've moved on, now that we're through OTAs and minicamp, it kind of feels as if Kenny's got to do a lot more than we anticipated for him to win the starting job. Do you feel that opportunity is still there?
Yeah, I think the opportunity is still there. I think if you see Kenny Pickett just go crazy in training camp and then go even crazier in preseason, I think you have to. I think you have to roll him out. I think it needs to be a combination though of Kenny Pickett doing his thing and like Trubisky just not looking any part of a starting NFL quarterback. And like let's remember, like we rag on Mason Rudolph. Mitch Trubisky is not a savior either.
No.
Not in the slightest term of it. So I think realistically, Pickett will be given a chance to compete. But I just think like Mitch Trubisky has kind of pretty much already solidified himself as QB1 in Pittsburgh. So like, it's going to take like a heroic effort from Kenny. But I do think the opportunity will be given to him for sure.
Do you think that a change could happen immediately in the season? So say Steelers start 0-2, things just really aren't clicking, and you could tell that it's probably Mitch. Do you think a drastic change happens then?
Not 0-2. I don't think 0-2. Dude, what is that playing right now, bro? 0-2 is not like the parameter for me. Can you hear that?
No.
Okay, for phenomenal microphone quality, so that's a good ad spot for sure. 0-2 is not the bar for me to make a quarterback change. I would say I would give it at least a couple more weeks before you like pull the plug on anything. I mean, dude, we've seen teams make drastic turnarounds mid-season, so I wouldn't be willing to kind of give up like that.
How long did Mac Jones go before he was the starting quarterback? I think 3 weeks, right? Look, can you look that up? If I would say the bar is whether or not the season feels alive. I'm not going to put like a number on it. It's going to be more, did the defense show us so much in week 1 and week 2 that this could be a Super Bowl year? Is the offensive line fixed? Is Najee Harris an absolute animal? And is the wide receivers clicking? Because if all those things say yes, but the Steelers are 0-2, I think a move could be made. In my opinion, great coaches adjust, and great coaches would realize changes need to be made. I'm not saying that.
To answer the Mac Jones question, and I thought this was the case, but I just wanted to make sure because my memory is garbage right now. Cam Newton was cut during final roster cuts in training camp, and Mac Jones started.
So Mac Jones started week 1.
Yeah,
gotcha.
Yeah, according to Wikipedia, he was the first rookie quarterback to start a season opener since Drew Bledsoe in 1993 for New England. But I mean, they had Tom Brady all those years, so it's like
So I just look at. I don't know how to like make it a point. You know what I mean? Because I get where you're coming from, as in once the season starts rolling, you got to give it time, and you got to work out the bugs. I would hope that Mike Tomlin has learned, especially from last season, that sometimes you don't work out the bugs. You just got to make changes because things suck. And sometimes that's your quarterback. I think Mitchell Trubisky is an easy component. Now, let me ask you this. How deep into the season before that change is gone? You know, like Mitch plays enough games. They're at 9 weeks in, and they're 5-4 heading into the bye.
Oh, dude,
I don't feel great about
think there's any changes made then.
4-5.
No, dude, I think for serious changes to be made, you need to be at like 1-7.
But that's what I'm saying. Why are you throwing away a season at that point? If you're 3-6 heading into the bye week, are you throwing away the season?
I don't know, man. I think there's a lot of factors that would play into that. And I mean, to quote Mike Tomlin, don't blink, and I think it'll be interesting too, because they've never really had that option. One, because they've always been a really good football team to where this hasn't been a problem before. They have not had to worry about, besides whenever Ben got hurt, whether or not they were going to be like a subpar football team. But they've never had the option to replace a quarterback. Because no matter how much things went wrong, pulling Ben was never in question. never. Like that
No,
was
exactly.
so off limits. You wouldn't even think about that.
Yeah.
But now that's a potential possibility with Pittsburgh. And I think shout out to everybody in the chat, kind of like bringing this up. Like the Steelers will not throw away football season. Like it's just not what they do. And I don't even know what you would like quantify throwing away football season, because I think if you start with a terrible record and you throw Kenny Pickett in, I don't think you're throwing away football season. I think you're giving Kenny Pickett a shot to potentially rejuvenate the football team.
That's what I'm saying though. Like I don't think at any point putting Kenny Pickett in is giving up. I think it's trying to save whatever's there. And I think that's why my bar might be higher than yours and most. I feel most people are on your side with this argument. I think that the bar is so high that you come out in week 1 and week 2 and Minka's got 2 interceptions. The Steelers are holding teams to like 14 points a game. And Najee Harris is an absolute animal. But the passing game is garbage. And you start out 1-1. Mitchell Trubisky's 2 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. You're starting to think about it. Week 3 comes, you start 1-2. Defense almost wins you a game. Offense is still not doing anything at all. I think at that point, it becomes a talking point how quickly before Kenny Pickett jumps into the starting lineup. Now, again, Mike Tomlin has shocked us with how, I don't know what the word would, how stubborn he's been in the past. And I think he could do that again easily. But if I'm running a football team and everything looks good except for Mitchell Trubisky, we out. Kenny's the future. If that was the other way around, I'd let it rock. You know what I mean? If it was Kenny Pickett starting, Kenny could go 0-8. He's starting. He's the starting quarterback. Mitchell, no.
I think these are doomsday scenarios that hopefully we will never have to actually like talk about during the season.
Oh, I agree.
don't know, man. Mike Tomlin is very set in his ways. And like you talked about, he's like almost stubborn to certain points, which has been proven good and bad in the past. Dude, I just think it's going to take a lot for Mitch Trubisky to be pulled. I think it's going to take like a lot of stuff to go sideways in order for that to realistically happen.
In the thought of Mike Tomlin, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. We'll see what happens. I hope that, just like you said, I hope that come the season, we don't even got to talk about this. It just is what it is. You know what I mean? I do want to address Pittsburgh Owen right here. Noah and Donnie come on Pittsburgh Podcast Live. We'd love to. We appreciate you watching. Continue to watch. We appreciate all the support as always. We appreciate every single one of you guys.
Check the channel out after we're done.
Yeah, 100%. So we appreciate you. I think we talked about all the quarterback headlines we need to talk about.
Another day, another dollar.
Another day, another dollar. Thank you, everybody, for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. We appreciate you guys so much. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Like this video. And as always, be a friend, tell a friend, be a friend, tell a friend to go use our promo code at manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping. We'll be back tomorrow, or I'll be back tomorrow with Derek. Donnie will be back next week. Enjoy your night. Peace.